Hi everybody. Let's get the lovely Nicole on. Where is she? Here we go. Say hi everybody. Hello. Good to see you. Hi Karen. Hi gorgeous. Hi Nicole.
Hi, lovely. How are you?
Hi. I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. We
Good.
have amazing questions. We always do, but I'm always
Oh
surprised.
good. Good.
Yeah,
And how's my reception today? How's my reception today? Better?
it's good. Yeah,
Good.
so far,
Good.
no problems. You
Good.
let me know if you ever have issues with me too.
Okay, so I am ready. I'm in full psychic mode today. So as I think I messaged you earlier, so it'll be interesting to see what comes through. I've been just going on coaching calls and just so much is coming through. So let's see what comes through today. I'm ready.
Okay. So our first question is actually about somebody who's feeling a bit psychic too. So that's interesting.
Okay.
Uh, She says, I have always had or felt a spiritual knowing, but have buried it deep most of my life. I know just, excuse me, I'm now just starting to appreciate it and nurture it. I'm discovering more, and I finally feel a fire of excitement inside me. I feel like I'm finally being true to myself and have no doubts that I'm going to incorporate spirituality into a new career. But I can only express it with my online tribe. I think those who live with me and my friends and family will think I've gone completely wacko.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm not ready to share right now, and I'm still getting confident with it myself. Do you have any advice as to how you live alongside non believers? I guess the fear is that the self doubt will creep in if I'm feeling a negativity day to day. Does that make any sense?
Okay, so I think that the first thing we have to establish here is that it's not our job to convince other people of a greater connection or our gifts. That's purely the ego at work. The ego wants to prove and coerce and convince. We don't need to be doing that when we're operating purely from soul. So it's really recognizing that it's the egoic part of us that has um, a desire to convince people. You know, we don't, even amongst the community of people who are spiritually connected, it's not about a uniformity of opinion. You know, there's no such thing in essence. It's about everybody being free to view life as they choose to, even if it's not in alignment with the way that you are. So that's the first thing. The next thing, it's interesting that this person, is it a woman or a man? A woman?
It's a woman.
It's interesting this person feels so comfortable with her online tribe because it's like she's happy doing it when there's um, less at stake in terms of those around her. The first thing that comes up for me with that question is ultimately, does she believe that she's going to be less lovable or rejected when she fully owns who she is? Um, and what she will probably find is those people around her had a pretty good inkling that she was spiritually connected anyway. But I think that that's a really important thing to look at. And that doesn't mean that we look at it so that we solve it and then we go and tell all our family and friends. It's for our own introspection and observation. Is, well, let's ask ourselves, why is it different with my online tribe as it is with my family? What is there a fear that's sort of driving that? Is it around acceptance, abandonment? That's a word for her for sure. Lovability. Is there something else that's coming in here? Because if we remove the need to convince, you know, there's people who are very close in my life who of friends or family um, who don't understand, and that's okay. And I don't feel like I need to prove or coerce. I respect that they're on their journey, But what is really important is I don't let it detract from my value and my belief in the work that I'm here to do. And that's really important for this lady, is that she fully stands in the power of who she is, and she owns that. And the very fact that she's brought that question today says to me there's part of her that is ready to own it on a greater level.
Yeah, and I would like to share that my husband is a complete non-believer.
Yeah.
I mean, he just does not believe anything. But I messaged you a couple weeks ago, and he said, this asking the universe for things is getting a little weird. We were asking for some bees. We wanted a beehive in our backyard. In the wall, we had seen a couple of them happen in our neighborhood, and there were bees going in there. And so he's coming around. And I think that you have mentioned before, people slowly kind of raise up to the level in which you hold yourself and where you vibrate, and they'll naturally start speaking like you as well, right?
Yeah, I think this is the thing, is a lot of people message me and say, how are you so confident and open with your spiritual connection? And look, it wasn't always that way. I wasn't walking around the corporate world kind of fully owning it and admitting it, even though lots of people would clearly have known that I was, particularly people who are close to me. That's been an evolution over time, and the more that I've owned it and stepped into the power, the more that I've connected to it. But I think what is important is always looking at that energy, that if we're going to lead in a space, we have to be the people who are putting one foot in front of the other for other people. And that's what it came down for me, is that I am fully owning the fact that I have this gift and connection. I talk very openly about it. I talk to lots of people who probably wouldn't be the audience you expect, and I'm amazed at how much part of it opens up something for them. So don't be, for anybody who's watching this, I don't want you to shy away from leading in a certain field, and that does involve a certain amount of vulnerability as you pave the way for other people. But we are in a period of great awakening. There's lots of people who are tuning into these things, and there is and there's a line here where we can stand in our power and own our message and our connection, but it doesn't mean that we have to be forcing that message and you have to do it this way or you have to do it that way. Everybody has free will. Everybody gets to operate and believe what they want, and it's not to say that my beliefs are better than somebody else's because they're spiritually connected. There's none of that hierarchical stuff, and I think we see that sometimes happening in the spiritual world, is that people say, well, because I'm connected then I know better. No, that's not the way that it works. It's like, that is I'm here connecting and shining my light and channeling and holding space for people who desire to come into my world and hear that from me, and who find themselves drawn to me, and to hold that and do that for them. But I'm not walking down the street kind of imposing it upon people.
Right, for sure. And I think that whenever there's an organic drawing, or I don't know, like a connection to someone, it's just so much more fruitful than when you've like convinced them. Actually, I think that's really interesting that we're talking about this today, because yesterday I was having a very long conversation with two of my friends about how you can organically have a conversation with someone coming from a place of curiosity versus a place of trying to convince them and prove a point. And so that's, I guess, the message for today.
Yeah, and our ego seeks to coerce and to validate and to prove. Our soul doesn't.
Right. Okay. So this next one, a lot around money this week.
I'm saying this a lot. A lot of clients are coming to me. A lot of people in space are coming to me about money at the moment. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm gonna try to combine them all together, because there's a couple of different ones, but they're about money. So the first one is, I worry that my industry, yoga and wellness, has a set standard price. And so many of my clients can just go somewhere else for the same product or service that I provide. How do I market myself as unique or different, or how do I let them know that the value of my service and what I'm charging is appropriate?
you come away from attaching yourself to your label of what you do and the product that you're there, and you start fully embodying the person you are and the belief that you have in the work that you do. It all comes from you, all of it. The willingness of people to pay you, the willingness of people to be attracted to you, calling people into your space, growing your income, getting more clients, getting more customers. It doesn't matter. Everybody is responding to who you are and who you choose to be, and not what you do. Never about what you do. It really isn't. It's about the energy that you hold. So that fixation on what others people are doing, um, and you being a product or yoga teacher or anything like that, needs to go. And instead, this is about embodying you in your truest essence, about the things you have to offer, the value that you have, that you are unique, about you standing in your power, about you honoring your desire to charge what you desire to charge. And that's something that I want whoever wrote that to realize, is that this is about you really embodying your value and your worth and who you are. And the best way you can do that is to come away from what do I need to do to stand out, to who do I need to become to attract at that level. It's all about who you choose to become. People are responding to the energy and the worth. And that is why I could sit here now, or I can sit here now, and charge 5 figures, multiple 5 figures to work with me. And a few years ago, I would charge £50 an hour. It's about an embodiment and a belief about who I am and what I have to offer. It's not because of the doing, and that's really important. And there are examples, you know, if you think about, I'm going to use Rachel Braden, Yoga Girl, as an example. She's a yoga instructor. She wrote a brilliant book that's actually sitting in front of me weirdly. And if you think about her and what she commands with her business and the opportunities that she has, to charge at different rates, there are so many people who break the mold of things, but they do recognize it's about them and not what they do and what they offer. It's something that I really want to encourage her to come away from, and instead just say, well, if I put all the do's and the shoulds and everything to a side and come into who I am, this is where the work needs to be done. Who am I becoming? Everything is the energy which we put behind it. So that's the bit that I want her to work on.
Yeah. And, you know, I loved when you broke this down in one of the classes. I can't remember which one it was, but you were talking about how we purchase things from a place of emotion, not logic.
Yeah,
And
we purchase from the reptilian part of our brain. We purchase based on an emotional response. We do. It's not logical. And in order to purchase, an emotional response has to be activated within us. And this is why, you know, even when we look at marketing or something for anybody, the marketing which is with the energy of I want to sell, or I have to get a certain amount of posts or emails out, is very different from the energy of I'm going to share something that's on my soul that wants to come through today. That stuff has the most power. When you share something from soul, you share something which holds the energy of the person that you're becoming. People feel that. They feel it through the words they do.
yeah, and they're connected to you and your energy, not the fact that it's just yoga.
Exactly. And I think that I see this a lot. I had a fantastic yoga client who actually is now teaching yoga students and doing a lot of incredible work with some amazing women and really nailing it. I still hear from her now. She's in the spiritual entrepreneur. About a year ago, she still writes to me and tells me these amazing things that she's doing. And we went through this process of getting her to come out of the confinements of the yoga world and to fully own all the other things that she wanted to do and wanted to offer, and the people that she wanted to train and what she wanted to charge. And we did the energy around the energy work, I'm really getting her to embody it and understand it and stand in her power around it, and she's absolutely smashing it. So you can do whatever you like. You can do yoga your way, you can do retreats, classes, programs, training, bring in external experts, anything your way. You can. It doesn't have to be a set way. And that's why if I looked at, like, say, coaches, no coach is really doing the same thing. We all get there in different ways, but the essence behind most people who've exponentially grown and at that level is that they've choose to embody the person that they're becoming. They choose to do the energy and the internal work. They choose to hold the vibration of who they're deciding to be above the doing, and it has to be done like this. And that's when you're likely to see the biggest results in your business and your life, for sure.
That's so good. Thank you. Okay. I recently raised my prices and have felt myself procrastinating about sending the invoices out to the clients. Do you have any advice on how to work around this?
Yeah, I mean, I've been there for sure. Okay, so brilliant that you've raised your prices. So now it's about fully normalizing it and getting your energy behind it. Yeah, that's all it is. It's just the capacity to see it as normal. So what I'd like this person to do is start normalizing it to him or herself. I'd like them to get their energy behind a few things. Why they're worth it, focusing on the impacts it's going to have for the people around them personally, but also the impacts it's going to have for their clients, about how this is a next step in their journey to owning their worth, for them to go beyond that and to start really looking at, what if this is just me getting started? What if I am going to double or triple those rates in a few months? This is a really fun thing to do. Is well, look, there is no difference in the universe between receiving £500 or 5 million. It's really down to the resistance that we have and the stories and beliefs we create around it. So something that's really fun to do energetically, start playing with it. We'll take that number that he or she knows that they're going to charge, double or triple it, and say, well, that's going to be my new rate in 2 months. So of course that's no big deal that I'm charging that. And of course it's no, and it's an absolute bargain. And you get into that energy, you walk around the house and you practice saying, well, of course I charge £200 a session. Of course I do this. Of course I do that. And then you start normalizing it. If you feel like there are some deeper blocks going on, and it's likely this person will know given their line of work, but if they feel like there's a deeper block going on, you need to look at that. You need to look around worth and look at where it's not appropriate to charge or to receive that amount of money, and why it can happen for you and why it's okay for that person to charge and not you. And you want to get in there and you want to just start shifting some of those beliefs out. But that would be the best way. And recognize this: as soon as you've had 1 or 2 clients pay it, it will become the new normal. You will have energetically expanded to it, and then it's like, okay, well, the next level is going to be here. So go beyond. Play with the energy of tripling the rates. Play with the energy when somebody pays you 6 figures for a year of your time or whatever it is, and then all of a sudden it tends to normalize and make it less of a big deal for your ego and your energy to charge that amount. We've got a question here. Sorry, I'm going to have a quick look before it disappears. How do you strike a balance between being in your authentic energy and also having the relevant expertise and qualifications? Just feeling into the energy. That person. Strike a balance between your authentic energy. Isn't it interesting that you've divvied out authentic energy and expertise and qualifications? There's something in that. I want you to start linking authenticity to expertise. So what's happening here is, it's almost like you're saying, well, I need to have these qualifications or these expertise in order to be enough, in order to serve. But actually, when my energy is taking me over here. So we look at that and we say, well, what if my authenticity is my expertise? Yeah. So this I see, I'm going to use coaches as an example all the time. I've just written a post about this, Nicole, which I sent you before we came on the call.
Mm-hmm.
So many people feel like to be credible and to be really good, it's about certifications and qualifications, or somehow being at the end of their journey and having nailed it. There is no end of the journey. We're all evolving and learning and growing. Authenticity and credibility comes when you have walked that path and you're embodying what you're offering other people. It's not about standing at the finish line and saying, I know the exact steps here. Yes, we can guide people. Yes, we can empower people and help them navigate things that might be murky, but it's beyond that. Our authenticity comes from the fact that we have done things that people haven't yet done, that we have worked through darkness and periods of doubt or fear that people haven't yet done. And that's the important thing that's coming up here in that question is, what if your authentic energy is linked to your expertise? What if that's what you're offering people? And when you're looking for qualifications or certifications, you want to make sure that you're doing it with the energy of this serves me, this serves the other person, this deepens my knowing and my connection, not I do this to feel enough. And you'll notice that when I talk about the Intuitive Coaching Academy, I'm not saying to you, you need to do this to be enough. I'm saying this is an opportunity to deepen your connection to yourself, to others, to take your service to another level if it feels right for you. So make sure that you're finding something that is being led from soul and trust and being enough anyway, with or without the piece of paper. Really
Mm-hmm.
important.
Yeah. I think that's one of the biggest things that has been coming up the last few weeks, especially since your launch of the Caroline Britton Academy. Many clients want to take it and they either have money blocks or, is it right for me? And then they ultimately will come up to a place of knowing, you just ultimately know, but it's your ego that's, blocking you from making that decision one way or the other.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. And it's whether it's investing in my coaching academy or investing in anything else, it's about investment. Yeah. And when we invest, it's a belief and a energetic exchange of knowing that we can do this and that we're backing ourselves and that we are ultimately going to be using these skills as we move forwards. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the energy that we want to be investing with, is like, I'm investing in myself. I'm investing in that person and their energy and their guidance. And I'm investing because something tells me it's right. And I'm investing because it gets to develop the things that I already know are within me. It helps guide me. It's going to help me bring myself back within me to my deepest knowing and truest essence and guide from there. Not you need to do it because then you're enough. Yeah. And we have to be mindful of anybody who does try and promote things like that, or if we feel like we need to take that tact, because that's, everybody has an innate knowing within them, and it doesn't mean we don't have fear or we don't have self-doubt or we don't worry about, well, what if I invest in this and it doesn't work? Well, don't look at investment that way. Look at investment as a long-term game, that gain or game, I guess, in some ways, but ultimately something that is like it's going to work out. If I release my attachment to time and the way that I think it should be, I back myself fully, and that's what it's about. And that's what we're allowing people to do as coaches and mentors. When they put money in the ring, it's like we're holding that space for them to own the belief in themselves, and then we give them the tools and we hold them in the space and we hold them in the light and all these things that come into post, funnily enough, later, in order for them to see parts of themselves that they might not be able to see yet. But remember this as well, I'm on a roll today, but if we're expecting clients to see themselves in the light and to be prepared to sit in the darkness and to know their worth and to work through money blocks, then we have to be prepared to do that ourselves. We don't have to no longer have fear about it or self-doubt. I have these things all the time, but I do embody the constant practice of working through that and owning that. And that's what any good coach or mentor should be doing, is embodying the things that they want other clients to. So when the clients are scrambling around, lost in the dark, unsure as where to go, you can say, I have been there and I understand, and I know how to go into the dark and find the light. I know how to go into the fear and move past it anyway. I know how to navigate past the ego and connect back to the soul, because I do it and I make a commitment to it, and this is what I've learned, and let me hold your hand until you feel steady on your feet and you can move forwards.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. And there was a big theme yesterday in your Fear to Founder guest speaker, Katie Johns, who's also your marketing manager. She was talking about, you know, that the traditional way of running businesses is through formula. If you buy this formula, you're going to be successful. And she really teaches a soul-led way, and coming back to what are your principal beliefs. You know, the universe always has my back, like you were saying, and everything conspires in my favor, things like that. And I think it's just such a more beautiful way to look at things, that you're not searching for these external validations or the formula that you need to buy. Everything's really coming from within.
Yeah, and I think that's absolutely right. And it's knowing that there's not a set way to do things, and that you've got an inner guidance system that you can trust to guide, and your desires are real. And if you want to do something a certain way, then it's honoring that, because it's showing you a path. And look, we can get success and we can get money. There's a lot of people who do it the other ways, get there, and it still doesn't give them what they need. So isn't this about building a business and living a life based on the person you want to be and the life that you want to live? And how can that be wrong? You know, how can that be? And to really think about that is like, are people doing life or business the way they want to? Are they doing it from a place of love and trust? Are they being guided internally? Or are they looking around and looking at what everybody else is doing and thinking, well, it has to be done that way, and leaping on that? Because that's not the answer.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Okay, let's see. A circumstance came up for me recently with one of my clients, and I wasn't quite sure how to handle it. Luckily, it never happened, but she asked me to start our job at 6 a.m. in the morning. It felt so yucky to me that I didn't know how to say no and set those boundaries, because she's a paying customer.
But somebody giving us money doesn't equate to being able to cross our boundaries. Yeah, that's not true service. Service to others is also service to ourselves. So what I would say there is, thank you so much for your email. I know that you'd like to start early. One of the important things that I've set in place for my business is that I don't start my day until 11 a.m. But I'd be happy to find flexibility around times that suit us both. Is it a coach? Is it a coach this has happened with? No, it's somebody else. It's a customer. I think that's really important, and I think that when we honour our boundaries and stand in our power, it says a lot about who we are, and actually people respond to that. And it's funny, isn't it, that people always respond to the boundaries that we have in place. And I think this is the perfect opportunity for this person to sit down and say, what are my boundaries? And what are my beliefs about when people give me money? And what comes first? My boundaries. Okay, so what are my conscious boundaries around my time, my communication, my hours I work? And when you fully lock, and I've done this with myself, with my business, when you fully own them and you're like, well, that becomes a non-negotiable. Energetically, it's bizarre. People just naturally respond to that. It's incredible. They just do. So that this is the perfect time to consciously decide what boundaries are being implemented, and do the energy work around that, being very clear with yourself about what are firm non-negotiable boundaries and watch as the customer and client comes in around that. And sometimes we might lose people. I don't actually think they will in this case, but sometimes people drop out, but that's because people of a higher vibration who are more aligned with that way of working do. And think about the boundaries of people who have a million of those customers. You've got to be acting from that place. Would they be taking calls at 6 in the morning with me? No, they wouldn't, because they couldn't. They'd be probably doing their morning connection and getting themselves in the zone and getting their energy at the right level so they can serve to an optimum. So you want to be going beyond where you are now and embodying that so much further and saying, well, this is who I am and my future self, and she calls the shots now.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant. And I remember an example, and I think you gave two examples. One was somebody voice noted you like a really long message. And then I think you responded with, sounds like you're still pondering on that. Get back to me when you've figured it out, because you know, you have so many people messaging you all day long. You need to set some sort of energetic boundaries.
Yeah, I think that sometimes people, which is okay, because I'm happy to hold space for people to digest and process. So they often will talk to me as they're trying to process, and then they'll message back and say, "Oh no, I've got it and landed." And I'm happy for people to use the space that I hold in my different places to be able to process. But what's interesting, once I decided I was happy for people to use that space to process, but if I wanted to respond, I would. And if I didn't have time to listen to that, but wanted to tune into something else for them, I would. People just seem to get there so much quicker themselves. It's really, really amazing, actually. So don't be afraid to make sure that things work around you, because you're a much higher service when you're doing it around a life that you want to build, not from a place of fear of I better do this, otherwise I'm going to lose that person. It's like, well, ultimately, if I honor myself and my life and my boundary in the way that I want to show up for my clients, then I'm of even greater service for people, and you will be, for sure.
Yeah,
These are great questions that we've had coming through. Amazing questions.
I know. Keep them coming. They're
We're getting more and more each week. It's fantastic.
Okay, probably last question so you can do the school run and my husband can come out of the room.
Okay.
He's in the bedroom.
Poor Larry hiding in the corner. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Recently, so much has been coming through for me about money. Frankly, I feel like I make bad decisions around money, and I'm always striving to make ends meet. I have heard you say that you shifted your money blocks and had $50,000 to $60,000 on credit cards when you gave your notice. How can I shift my story that I keep making mistakes with money and that it is never there for me?
So I'd like them to read Rich as Fuck by Amanda Francis, and I'd like them to read what's that book called? The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles. Those two books. The next thing is that you need to realize that the stories around not being good with money and never having money are perpetuating it. So you draw a line and you say all those past experiences around money and the way it is now are completely irrelevant. Yeah, I'm going to look at all the stories that have dictated my money situation as it is now, or my beliefs about people who do have money, who don't. An exercise like Ho'oponopono is brilliant. And you look at all of those things and say, right, okay, those stories and those beliefs and those thought processes governed everything that went in the past. So if I get to change my future, I start by changing my stories and my beliefs. So from now on, I believe that I'm good with money. I believe my wealth gets to grow and grow. I believe I'm attracting more and more money. I believe that money flows to me easily and effortlessly. There are so many examples of people who've had no money and been in debt and have gone on to be multi-millionaires. There are so many examples, but it's responding to your beliefs. So you need to forget about the past. You need to let go of that dictating your future and realize it's all in the now. Okay, so what are your new stories? What are your new beliefs? What are you choosing to let go of? And what are you consciously choosing as you move forwards? And then you look for examples. So I would immerse myself in this. I'd have post-it notes everywhere. I'd immerse myself in the reading about money. I'd use my words carefully. I'd choose my thoughts carefully. I'd say, well, I'm not available for that thought. I'd pick this instead. And then I'd always look for examples that what I was saying was true. So if I walked out and found a penny on the floor, I'd be like, it's literally raining abundance now. I would open my wallet and say there's more than enough for today, even if it was £20 left in my overdraft. I was constantly focused on proving to myself that more and more money comes in. You have to let go of the guilt and the shame and the stories that you are bad with money. You're not. You just didn't know. Money consciousness. So now use your thoughts and your beliefs and your stories to back up what you do want. And it will get easier. It will feel hard and you'll be like, this isn't working, or how do I know this will work, or this is nonsense. It will work because it's feeding your subconscious, which is your motherboard programming system. You commit to that every day, you will be astonished at the results that you start seeing, for sure.
I'm reading Rich's book right now.
Yeah.
We've worked on money blocks together.
Yeah.
But I will say that it's really interesting when you do start doing this work. You would talk about the penny on the floor, and the first thing I found was a penny, and then it was a dime, and then it was a quarter, and now I'm up to paper money.
Yeah. It's amazing, and it's, our beliefs around it are everything, and that's where you've got to start. You've got to go within and start looking at that. And you can change everything because the power to create your new reality is within you. That's the coolest thing.
Mm-hmm.
And at the beginning, it's like, yeah, but is the money going to come? And is the clients going to come? And then it feels like it's literally dripping. And then all of a sudden, I want you to look at the drip. And, I can just see Rachel has joined. This would be a perfect example. You look at the drip. The one person, you say, I've got one, and then you wait, and then two come, and it starts getting a momentum. Then there's 3, then there's 5, then there's 10. There's people messaging you on Instagram, and it comes and it comes. The hardest bit is the beginning, when there's nothing and it's dripping. You hold the faith, you keep focusing on what you want, you keep using your words carefully, you keep believing, you keep showing up from soul, you keep looking for examples that's working, you keep immersing yourself in the belief that this is coming, it's coming, it's coming. You believe in the not yet seen, and it will come. And then you get to a position where it's flooding in, and it becomes easier and easier to build a belief around it. But that's what you've got to do at the beginning, and it will be worth it.
Okay, that's it this week, everyone. Couple of things. If you don't know what Ho'oponopono is, email me. I will explain it to you, because I know that question comes up a lot. And then any questions, email me at Nicole at Caroline-Britton.com. We hope to be able to answer your questions next week.
Thank you, Nicole. Thank you as ever. Amazing. I loved it. And yeah, I'll see you all next week. Thank you. Lots of love. See you later. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye, everyone.